going to introduce Jackson, who is the co-founder and CEO of Quandry, and he is going to walk us through some very exciting stuff today about empowering the insurance industry by unlocking people and data and using digital workers. So I am going to disappear and I will reappear to answer or help Jackson address your questions later on. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Nicole. As Nicole mentioned, I'm here to talk about empowering your insurance brokerage using digital workers and really digital workers, AI, and other technologies that you can use to transform and overcome some of the staffing constraints that are present in the industry. Who am I? My name is Jackson Fregeau. As Nicole mentioned, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a technology company called Quandry. My background, I originally went to business school, did a finance degree because I like math, but realized I didn't want to work a day in finance, and startups is really what interested me in working with technology. Started working for a startup right after school, and ended up building an automation program at that company, and that ended up becoming what Quandry is today. We've been running Quandry for about 3.5 years now, and basically what we do at Quandry is build robots. So we deploy software robots to automate time-consuming, repetitive, high-volume processes for insurance brokerages all across the country. So we've worked with small brokerages, we've worked with really massive brokerages, we've worked with brokerages that look and feel of all different sizes and shapes, but all focused around repurposing human labor, repurposing people so that they can focus on their real valuable aspects and eliminating the time consuming repetitive high volume processes. So we speak with brokerages every day, every week. I've spoken to a few hundred brokerages at this point across Canada. So I have some learnings to share of how you can apply some of this technology and what you can learn from some of our experience that I want to be sharing with you all today. And there is a picture of myself and my brother. I got a little ahead of myself. We started Quandry together. So Jameson's my brother. He's my co-founder, and already told you what Quandry does. What we're going to be walking through today, the talent crisis is obviously something that's facing all brokers. So just talking about that a little bit, how AI can help alleviate some of these staffing constraints, and how you can actually implement this. If this is something that you actually want to move ahead with and implement some of this technology into your business, what the best way is to go about that, how you can make sure that you're applying it to the right place, and how you can choose the most effective technology for your business. So starting with the talent crisis, as you can see from Insurance News Net, the most challenging problem facing the broker channel right now is talent acquisition and retention, which is significantly higher than a lot of the other categories here. It's hard to bring new talent into the industry, and it's difficult to retain the staff that you have, particularly in an environment when there is a lot of consolidation and you have really large brokerages that are willing to pay premiums for the employees that are in the market. So this is a very common trend that we're seeing across the industry, and all brokers are having challenges both in bringing these people in and in retaining them in their business. There's a record number of unfilled jobs right now in the insurance industry as people are retiring and moving out of the profession. There are new jobs that are opening up, but not enough new talent coming into the industry to actually fill those jobs. And the number of unfilled jobs is the highest level that it's ever seen. I think an important stat here is that 44% of millennials do not find a career in insurance interesting, and this is a challenge and a problem for brokerages. In order to attract good talent and keep that talent in the industry and in the business, people need to look at it as an interesting career and that they can get something out of it. Myself being a millennial, and from the conversations that we've had with other brokerages, big reason why this is the case is because of the type of work that they need to do when coming into these businesses. There's a lot of people when they enter the insurance industry where the task they need to do is sort of repetitive data entry work that consumes most of their day, that doesn't really give them much satisfaction, and isn't the type of work that they get a lot of fulfillment out of. And I think, there's a shift in what different categories of workforce want. And I think for millennials and, Gen Xers going on, that sense of fulfillment and satisfaction is really important. So this is, I think, is an important metric for brokers to think of, and something for us all to change to make sure that we're attracting really strong talent into the industry. Last year, so in 2023, 25% of brokerages interviewed said that the ability to recruit and hire talent has become more difficult. So this trend, instead of going away, is actually accelerating, and it's becoming more difficult to get people into the business, and more competitive pressures in order to retain them. Now, what does this mean? What does this actually mean for brokerages and for the industry? As I mentioned, you have senior and experienced people who are retiring from the insurance industry, retiring from their long careers, and you're losing some of that institutional knowledge as these people move out of the business, and you don't have sort of a generation of younger staff who can pick up the baton and who have worked with these people for a long time. You're actually losing some of that institutional knowledge, and losing that valuable perspective that isn't being picked up by the new entrants to the industry. As people are leaving the industry and there's not enough new bodies coming in, the same amount of work needs to be done. And I think a lot of you would probably argue that there is more work that needs to get done year over year, but that workload is sitting on less employees. Harder to bring people in, workload isn't decreasing, but there's less people to actually do the job, which means that workload increases, stress, burnout, et cetera. It becomes more difficult to do a good day's work. As a result of that, you end up having operational inefficiencies. Something that we often hear from some of our customers is backlogs, right? Backlogs of renewals. So some of them won't be able to get to their renewals till a week out of the actual effective date of the new policy. In some cases, this is actually putting the endorsements into the portal, and they've got a 2 to 3 to 4 week backlog. Sometimes we've even heard this on new business, that they don't have the ability to write the new business for a couple of weeks when it comes through. What that means is that you're obviously driving, worse results for the end client, a more difficult experience for your staff, and ultimately not driving the right business outcomes for your business. So it leads to these knock-on effects that create a lot of challenges for brokerages, as I'm sure that a lot of you have experienced or potentially are currently experiencing. With those backlogs, the service levels go down, and that impacts your employees and the end client, who expect a certain level of service, and you obviously want to hold yourself to that level of service. What we have noticed from our own recruiting at Quandry, where we do quite a bit, and from the customers that we've spoken with, while it's difficult to bring these people into the business, even when you can, the cost of that is so high. You're recruiting, and maybe you're paying recruiting fees. You then bring them into the business, you're training them. Training costs, like it takes, depending on who you ask and for what role, anywhere from 2 to 6 months for an employee to really become productive. So if that's the case, you're carrying that salary for quite a long time before they're actually able to return that to your business. And then the retention costs. People's salaries go up over time. They get additional benefits. They get additional vacation, as they should. All of which means that the cost to bring new people into the business is quite high. So even if you can get those people to come in, there's a significant cost associated with that. Now that's all great. I'm sure most of you are well aware of a lot of the problems that you have, and we don't need to spend a lot of time talking more about the problems. We're here to talk about what the potential solutions are for this. So starting off, there are potential solutions here. We've had customers who successfully used internship programs to ensure that they're getting new talent coming into the business on a regular basis. They'll use summer co-ops to get people into the business, and some of those people will convert to full-time employees post graduation. Training and upskilling. It's imperative that the staff that you do have are being pushed and are being trained to take on new challenges, especially with millennials and Gen Xers, where fulfillment in the job is really important. They want to be sort of continuing to level up their careers, and being able to give them that career progression is really important. Improving employer attractiveness. This is something that our customers talk with us quite a bit about. As an example, through the implementation of new technology, where employees need to do less manual data processing and less repetitive work. This, they feel, makes them more attractive as an end employer. But there are other things, obviously, that you can do here, like improving your benefits plan, ensuring that your marketing team and your recruiting team are in really close connection, so that you're marketing how great it is to work at your company, having good salary bands, those types of things. And then the final area where our customers have seen benefits are using contract or part-time professionals. It's important to use these in the right place. Part of what makes your business great is the culture that you've built, and the culture that attracts really good people to it. And at times that can be more difficult to do with contracted folks, but in certain areas this can be really effective, and we've seen customers use this to great benefits. However, with all of these things factored in, it moves the needle a little bit. But even with those implemented, you still don't have enough staff to do all the work. This is something we continually hear from our existing customers, and that there's revenue generating work being left on the table. So not only can you not get to all of the work that needs to happen, but there's important work that would drive an increase in revenue for your business that you can't get to because you don't have the staff, you don't have the manpower to actually get those things done. Now, where are employees having all that time consumed? This is typically what we hear from people. There's client-driven inbound work. So there's all of the calls that they're receiving on a regular basis, claims, questions, endorsements, whatever those things might be. There's a significant volume of that servicing work that's coming inbound that interrupts people from doing their day-to-day work. Administrative and data entry tasks. There's a lot of this type of work in the insurance brokerage space that a lot of very talented people can spend quite a bit of time doing because of the nature of the data and the systems that you're required to work within. And then finally, retaining current clients, ensuring that policy reviews are happening, ensuring that remarketing is happening, ensuring that the right servicing work is happening, so that you retain the current book of business that you've worked so hard to build. Now, what does all this lead to? Leads to a lot of different effects. Can lead to a lower retention rate. Can lead to a potential E&O risk in your book of business if your team doesn't have the time to review those policies and ensure they know exactly what's in there. If there's burnout, stress, overworked staff, that can lead to higher than desired employee turnover, which then just further exacerbates the problem. Work can pile up and pile up and pile up, which leads to low client service, leads to disorganization, and leads to lower results for the business. So a lot of these different factors could come into play through this sort of initial cause of just not being able to get adequate number of staff into your business, and that trickles down and has an impact on your people, has an impact on you, has an impact on your business, and on being able to move your business forward. If you're sort of stuck doing all the work to just maintain the status quo, it's hard to actually break through and make real changes and real improvements. But fortunately, that's what we're here to talk a little bit more about today. Now, everybody may be getting sick at this point of hearing about AI and talking about AI. It feels like it consumes probably 30% of the news cycle, or at least takes about 30% of mine. But the reason that we're hearing so much about it is because it really can help. It's a new technology that has a lot of promises attached to it, and I think it will take a long time to realize most of them, and some of them are probably unfounded. But this is technology that really can be utilized to solve meaningful problems in our businesses. and enact real change. And what we're going to talk about here is how we can use AI to actually address the talent shortage and some other problems that are facing brokerages, and tactically what you can actually do about it to make these changes in your business. So what are some of the high level benefits of AI before we really jump into that? Number one, it can turn your data into an asset. AI can understand and interpret large sets of data, and it can actually take all of that data and all that information across disparate systems that you have, and turn that into an asset for you, allow you to understand what's really happening, allow you to take more informed decisions. Good AI is really just good. It's really good and involve data analysis. And you can use these tools to really understand your data and how to better use your data to enact better business outcomes. Number two, can increase the ROI of your employees. Your staff can have better insights and more valuable data. They can have more information at their fingertips so that they can have a bigger impact. You can allow them to be basically higher leverage employees through using AI to remove some of the redundancy in the tasks that they do, and to have more information at their fingertips so that you get a better bang for your buck with those employees, and they get more job satisfaction because they're able to move the needle more, and they're going to get more satisfaction out of their work. Finally, humans are not robots. At Quandry, we really try to emphasize the human side of this. AI is not here to take away human work. It's not here to make people redundant. What AI is here to do is to automate the repetitive work and to take away the work that humans really shouldn't be doing or aren't good at, so that people can really focus on the areas where they can be uniquely valuable, where they can do the work that really moves the needle for your business. That can be, complex decision making, talking to customers, problem solving, dealing with unexpected situations. All of these areas are what people are really good at. And what AI allows you to do is to take your people from the work, some of the work that they're doing today, some of this repetitive, monotonous data entry type work, remove that and allow them to focus on where they really shine and where they can really do their best work, which is where you get a larger ROI and you get more job satisfaction out of those people. So now we'd like to talk about a little bit is, what repetitive work is really consuming your employees' time? What's the stuff that, your staff are spending their time on that you'd rather they didn't? And people can use the chat function if they want to chime in here, because I would really like to understand, like in your brokerages today, where is your staff spending the most time? That if you could wave a magic wand and get rid of that, what would that be? And I'd love to hear from some of you in the chat box what those areas are. Let's see who's not shy and wants to chime in. Recalculating premiums from Glenn. Yeah, it's very, very detailed work that needs to happen. Backend system task, administrative stuff. Yeah, that's one that we hear over and over. Moving data from one area in the system to another in the system, that type of thing. Sending reminder communications. Right. So like payment reminders, renewal reminders, things like that, Hope. Yeah, great. Any other areas where your staff's sort of spending time where you don't want them to or would rather them not? Great. Well, I think those are some good examples, and I haven't actually heard the recalculating premiums from Glenn, but backend system tasks, reminder communications, administrative stuff, we hear that all the time. These are some of the other areas that we constantly hear. Doing download work that comes out of that, reconciliations on a regular basis, different areas where this happens, but double data entry, triple data entry, portal entry work, reviewing renewals, document organization. I think most recently in the hard market, remarketing is taking up a ton of people's time. So these are some of the areas where employees are really getting bogged down in needing to do this type of work. Where would you rather have your employees spend their time? And that's what we'll dig into a little bit more here. Where people can be really effective, as we were talking about, was complex decision making or strategic thinking, handling unpredictable situations and dealing with new situations that come up, really building relationships with your clients, making sure your clients are engaged, they know your product, they understand it, and they look to you as the trusted advisor that cares about their life or their business. Just really the role of the broker, the advocacy. And then finally, leadership and mentorship. So, leading the company, leading the function, mentoring new staff, working with the team and collaborating to drive things forward. This is really where, people should be spending their time in an ideal world where we can reposition more staff to do more things like this. AI is not going anywhere. AI is here to stay. There's a lot of industries that already rely very heavily on AI: transportation, healthcare, finance, advertising. These industries have been using AI already for quite a long time, and it's now starting to sort of flow through to some of these other industries, like insurance brokerages. An example of this in the real world is the company Sensely. So for elderly people to schedule appointments, they can interact with an AI nurse. It helps them schedule appointments. It's a direct line to talk to an AI nurse to help manage some minor ailments that they may have. Gives them direction when they need further care of where to go, and can actually provide real clinical advice. So there are like very strong use cases already out there that are driving a lot of value and a lot of business for organizations. And now we see the time has really come for the insurance industry to really be able to take advantage of this as well. The government doesn't see this going away anytime soon. The Canadian government is putting $2.4 billion into the AI sector to accelerate research, to accelerate companies, to ensure that Canadian companies can actually benefit from this technology and stay competitive and don't get left behind. Importantly, AI is not here to replace people, like I mentioned. It's here to augment people and to allow people to do their best work. As an example, when email came into the forefront, and replaced us sending letters all over the place, I don't think anybody now is bemoaning not needing to write a letter and stamp it in order to communicate with your clients. Self-checkouts are another more recent technological advancement. While I know I can definitely get frustrated with the self-checkout every once in a while, when you have a small shopping cart, it can be pretty handy to go through quickly. I think the important consideration here is not to think of it as human versus AI, but really AI is augmenting people and is helping you achieve more. It's not here to replace work. It's not here to, take over the world with the help of Skynet. What it is here to do is to help us achieve more and to help us ultimately have better lives. And that's really how we want to use it. So now jumping to how to actually incorporate this. So, you've gone through the decision, you've realized that this is something that you may want to embark on. How do you actually determine where to incorporate AI into your brokerage and how to actually move on the path forward? So importantly, for everybody to know, 75% of insurance C-suite leaders report a positive ROI from their digital investments. This could be across, and this includes AI investments. This could be across AI, machine learning, digital transformation. The majority of these investments do lead to positive ROI outcomes, and yours can too if you look at it with the correct framework. So number one, set clear goals. Going into something like this, it's important that you don't look at AI as a bright, shiny object and just want to apply it into your business. Technology and AI is no different. It's utilized best when it's helping you solve a very specific problem. You should identify the problem first, and then only once you've identified the problem that you need to solve, is it then valuable for you to put a solution like AI or something else on top of it. So the first step always needs to be the problem identification and the clear goal that you want to get out of that problem. What are you looking to solve, and what does solving the problem actually mean in terms of metrics and KPIs? And what is the impact of solving that problem? What does that actually lead to within your business? Once you have that problem, you can then look at what technology is available to actually solve it. But ensure that you start with the problem and the goal that you're trying to achieve, and then and only then look at the technology that you can apply towards it. Once you have that technology, the next piece to look at is the rest of your technology stack. So what technology are you currently working with? What technology is available? And out of the technology that is available, which of that technology can you actually integrate with your tech stack? It's great if you can make something more efficient, but if it then requires a bunch of manual work just to get it to work with your system, are you actually making that many improvements? So that's an important consideration to look at going into it. The second piece is to start small. With most of our customers, the way that they have approached implementing Quandry and implementing AI into their business has been starting small. So picking an area to do, a proof of value or a proof of concept somewhere in your business where you have a problem, you can measure the results, but ultimately that you're not biting off more than you can chew. It's important that you stay focused and that your team doesn't get too overwhelmed by the implementation that you may be looking at. And starting small helps with all of this. When you're starting small, you really want to focus, at least initially when you're doing this, is really where the repetitive work is. So where are the time-consuming, repetitive areas that your team is getting bogged down in that you really want to get off their plate? Don't look at, and this is my opinion, but don't look at some of the complex areas. There's a lot coming out with Gemini and GPT-4 of the complex decision making that they can help you make. I don't think that's the right area to start in. I think it's much easier and you'll get more tangible results to start by focusing on the repetitive work. And what this also does is it frees your team up to focus on the more valuable pieces, which also really generates their buy-in. Finally, and this is something that comes up a lot with us, is that you do need to rely on the expertise of the technology provider. Obviously, there are considerations where that technology provider needs to be experienced. They need to know what they're doing. They need to have worked with your type of business before. I think the insurance brokerage space is quite different from a lot of other industries. So it's important that the provider that you work with does have that lens. But if they've worked with a large number of brokerages, typically they do know how to implement this. They do have a set of best practices, and you can make this go faster, easier by following those. Now, you need to bring your own flavor to it. You need to bring your own experience. Every business is different from every other. And it's important that the technology provider know that and that you're candid about that going into it. But sharing those best practices and ensuring that you're both aligned on the best path for implementation is really important. What I want to talk about for a few minutes here is an actual use case. So Harvard Western, some of you may be familiar with them. They're a brokerage out of Regina that utilized Quandry's technology to drive significant benefits within their business. So the problem, and what we'll do here is sort of walk through the same set of steps that we looked at here of how to implement AI. So number one, what they did was identify a problem. The problem in their business was that they were having staffing shortages, which led to burnout. They were doing a lot of manual, repetitive administrative tasks, like manually searching and renaming eDocs, organizing those eDocs, making those eDocs available in their client portal. They were manually reviewing renewal policies. It was quite time consuming. There were inaccuracies within those processes. And what they found is that was leading to very reactive client service. It was hard to really be proactive with their clients and get ahead of renewals because they were spending all of this time on these inefficient processes. So what they did was identify that problem and decided to start small. So out of all of these different problems that they were experiencing, where they decided to start with was on the manual renewal review process. Once they decided that, they looked at a few different options and ultimately landed on Quandry as the technology provider for that solution. It automated their renewal review process. It unlocked important data stuck in PDFs. It improved accuracy, integrated into their broker management system, and ultimately delivered that work directly to their advisors' fingertips, saving them time, money, and delivering more value. And Nicole, looks like you have a question.
Hi, yes. Sorry, it was about what you're talking about right now, and I couldn't wait.
Sure.
What do you mean it unlocked important data stuck in PDFs?
Mm. So in the industry, the connectivity has improved quite significantly, but there are still gaps between what comes in through the download into the broker management system and what actually appears in the PDF document. This is obviously very apparent in like commercial and farm, but exists in personal lines as well. So when we say unlocks data stuck in PDF, what the technology is actually doing is taking both the structured data that is in the broker management system and the unstructured data out of the PDF policies and documents, and then combining that data together and allowing you to drive insight from both of those sources of data, not just the structured data within the management system. So it takes both of those sources in order to utilize them. Thanks, Nicole. This is a quote from Jessica, who is really amazing to work with over at Harvard Western. Reads the pages for us, summarizes it, delivers it right in the BMS. The accuracy is great. It's working throughout the day, just like our advisors off, but it takes the workload off them. And that last piece is the really important one, right? You're taking the workload off of the advisors so that the advisors can then use that data. They can use that insight to drive better client experiences and drive better outcomes for the business. What we were able to drive within Harvard Western was a 75% reduction in pre-call prep time. It was taking them about 20 minutes or so to prepare for a renewal call. It takes them about 5 minutes now, and Quandry is doing the additional 15 minutes of prep time. Repurposed about 3.5 full-time employees to more valuable work, and was a 250% ROI. So Harvard Western was a really good partner and is a really good partner with us, and has experienced some great results from their implementation of AI in their business. And you can see here a quote from Dave, who's their president and CEO. Again, allowing them to use their expertise to drive greater value for their business, really allowing them to unlock higher leverage on their talent. Now, if you're going to actually implement this, what are some steps? You've identified the problem, you have identified a solution and a potential technology provider, and you're moving into the project stage. Now, what do you need to do? Number one, communicate early, communicate often. Especially with AI, there is a fear in people's minds that AI is going to come and take people's jobs. The way that you combat that fear is communication and involvement in the decision. So we find that our customers that are the most successful, they communicate early with their team. They bring their team into the actual decision-making process, bring frontline staff into the decision-making process to ensure that their voice is heard, which leads to a better outcome ultimately for the decision, and it generates a lot of alignment in that decision. So that's really important. Talking to your team and understanding from their perspective what's taking up the most time, what work do they not have to, what work can they not do, what work's piling up. Understanding this from your team's perspective and really positioning this as something that's going to allow them to do better work and to get away from those things that are piling up is really important to generate strong alignment in the change management process that you'll be pursuing through this implementation. Next up, identify which tasks that the technology can do. So you've identified a problem. In that problem, it probably won't be a pure technology solution. It almost never is. While you could be taking a piece of technology and applying it to a problem, in that there is going to be process work, there's going to be change management work, there could be communication expectations that need to be different. There's going to be other work around that technology that needs to happen, and it's important that you very clearly and candidly understand what the technology can do and what the technology can't do. And for what the technology can't do, what are you going to do for those pieces as well? So ensure you have a very clear picture of what the tech can do, what else needs to change, and what other resources you need involved in that project to do those other pieces of work, ultimately to achieve the best outcome. This is a really important step, and I think this is something that can sometimes get missed. What we sometimes hear from customers, they'll be looking at our technology and they'll be trying to figure out where to apply it and what the ROI that they can get from it is. And a common question that we hear is, this makes a lot of sense, and I can see how we would get, two people or three people back into our business, but we're not going to lay anybody off. We love our staff and don't want to make any changes like that. And I'm not sure where we can repurpose those people to earn a return. Right? I'm not sure where those people can go to really drive valuable outcomes for our business. And that's an important question. If you can't properly answer that question, then the perceived ROI that you're actually getting isn't actually real, right? It's just a paper ROI, but you haven't actually reduced cost, or you haven't actually increased revenue. So that question is a really important one to answer. Talk to your staff about it, talk to your leaders about it, and talk to other brokerages about it. People that have gone through a similar experience, where have they repurposed staff in order to drive better outcomes for their business? This is a really important question to answer, so that when you implement, you actually do see a positive ROI, and it drives a better outcome for your business. Now, we've done this numerous times with lots of customers, and we have some best practices of what we've seen people be sort of repurposed to for the best results. When it's experienced brokers and agents, here's what we've seen really drive value: mentoring and upskilling newer employees and really focusing with the junior employees to bring them up to the same level. Spending more time with customers, and in particular, high net worth customers and high premium accounts. Supporting internal projects and new implementations, and bringing their important extensive experience to that project. Focusing on expanding existing accounts. So if they can spend more time with your existing customers, how can you cross-sell more into that account? How can you upsell more into that account? We often hear that just from spending time with more customers, you're going to learn that they were recently left a farm by their uncle, and they now need insurance for that farm, and maybe you never would have known that if you didn't have that conversation. So just the act of spending more time with customers will drive that increase in expansion. And then finally, more proactive and more personalized service. You have more time, you can focus on proactive outreach plays to your customers instead of just being reactive, and ensuring that you have the time and the data to provide a really personalized approach. And that's really what's going to drive better customer experience, which ultimately drives an increase in revenue. Excuse me. This was one of our customers, Rebecca Reed, who I think hit the nail on the head here, where it's essential for experienced experts to work on things that demand their level of expertise and experience. And this is key to how you retain really good employees over time. You need to upskill them. You need to put them in progressively more challenging and more complicated work, so that they feel like they're improving, that they get more benefits from the work that they're doing, and they feel fulfilled. But you need to be able to fill the bottom of the funnel to be able to move those people up. So this is, I think, key to a strong retention strategy. Now, that's great for experienced people, but what is the value driver here for new brokers and agents? Well, with that time, they can still proactively call customers. There are sort of very tactical things that they can do to drive the business in small ways: following up on non-pays, following up on cancellations, leads that follow the funnel prior to converting. These are all phone calls and follow-up activities they can make that directly drive better results for your business. They can spend more time remarketing. understanding what's out there in the market, what they can do differently, what carriers are doing differently so that they can ensure they're providing the best options to their clients, upskilling and spending time with those more experienced brokers to ensure that they're actually learning and getting better in their role. They can also spend more time cross-selling and upselling. And I think importantly, a driver of using or a benefit of using AI for new brokers and agents is that it can give them increased accuracy and consistency. They don't have 15 or 20 years of broker experience and know the products inside out, know the markets inside out. And it's a really complex job. There's a lot to it, as all of you know. So what having AI beside them can allow them to do is sort of lift the floor of that experience and help them interpret, what's going on with the markets, help them interpret what's going on with the products, so that you have a really strong baseline that they can operate from. So it can make them more effective in that way as well. Finally, when you get to the end of this process, it's important to continue to communicate with employees as you're implementing it. After you've implemented it, it's important to communicate where they're going to be focused, what they're going to be able to do with that new time, and then also communicating the benefits of the project back to your team. If you've made this investment and you've put time and resources to improving their experience, it's important to communicate back to them so that they know why you're making these investments, so they know the expectations to them with that new time, what they're expected to do, and that they see that you are investing in them and want a better experience for them. Finally, measurement. Investments are only effective if you can actually measure the results of them. Time saved per renewal, reduced E&O exposure, number of customer connects. You can see a variety of metrics here. These are some of the measurements that our customers use in order to measure the effectiveness and the efficacy of our technology. And it's crucial that you know what these measurements are going into it, so you can have objective measurements coming out the back end and ensure that the investments that you're making into this technology actually yield a positive outcome for your business. This is an example of a workbook that our customers use in order to measure the impact of some of our technologies. So you can see that we have, operational metrics, we have financial metrics, we have customer experience metrics, we have the baseline, where we want to be in 12 months, where we want to be in 24 months. So this is the type of rigor that you should have around your technology investments. And if you're not hitting what you want to be hitting at the 12-month mark, at the 24-month mark, even at the 6-month mark, you need to make sure that you're readjusting so that you're not just spending money on technology and the cost is going up, but you're not actually seeing any benefits for it. So the rigor around the measurement of the ROI is very important. The last piece, once you have all of the hard pieces in place, make sure you celebrate it. If your employees are now able to focus on higher level activities, if they're able to drive more value, if you've made a great investment and it's benefiting your team, make sure you stop to celebrate the win, share that with everybody. Stop to pat yourselves on the back, because it is difficult to go through these projects and implementations at times. And you want to make sure that you celebrate the wins, that everybody can stop and appreciate the work that you're all doing and the better experience that they're getting as a team. Now, we don't want to talk about this too much, but just the last few minutes, I'm sure some of you are curious of what can Quandry actually do for us. And I've talked to this a little bit, but effectively where Quandry can help. We prevent brokerages from needing to spend so much time in manual and repetitive work. We ease the burden of staffing constraints by doing so. And ultimately, what we're really driving for, and what our mission is here at Quandry, is really empowering the insurance industry to not get left behind with technology innovation. We want to be the innovation partner to brokers that allows them to move forward and not get left behind by some of these new advancements in technology. Just had a question on all BMSs. We don't work with all broker management systems. So currently, we're actually just working with the Epic management system. We will be working with probably Acturis in the future, but currently just on the Epic system. In terms of the actual application of the use cases, so one of our most common is the renewal reviewer automation. So really what this is doing is ingesting, policy data from this year, last year, any endorsements, those types of things, looking at a comparison from last term to this term, identifying major changes, looking for gaps in coverage, missing discounts, upsell and cross-sell opportunities, and then identifying all of that, providing a report back to the agent so they can spend their time utilizing that data and having more conversations instead of just putting that data back together in the background. That is all that I have to share with everybody today. Really appreciate everybody making the time and spending the time talking with us today. And we do have time, I think about 10 minutes or so to answer any questions. So if anybody does have any questions for me, happy to answer those now. Or if you want to get in touch after this, you can go to our website or you can reach out to me anytime as well, which is jackson@quandry.io. But if you have any